Hello again, and today I have a very, very different kind of commentary. Now, the reason why I say this is a different kind of commentary is because today we're going to be talking about social issues. And I have never talked about any social issues on this channel yet. However, these social issues are things that used to be what was near and dear to me as a progressive. And yes, I will fully admit now that I am an ex-progressive. I have been, like the meme, I left the left. I had hashtag walked away. I am a Dave Rubiner. In that I was a leftist staunchly before the 2016 election. And now that it is current year, I am no longer a part of the left because the left left me. And for me, one of the big reasons as to why I left the left was the handling of the LGBT situation. Now, to me, the LGBT situation goes as such. I agree that gays and lesbians should be allowed to do whatever they want. I think that trans people are very fucked up individuals who, as long as they are not harming themselves or anyone else, should be allowed to do whatever they want. The murky water in that is that there is a little bit of mutilation involved when it comes to gender reassignment surgery that is irreversible. And if you realize that this is not what you wanted, you're screwed, basically. And the reason why I'm going to talk about the trap question today is because someone who I was kind of close to, that we will refer to in this commentary as Jocko, recently came out as a trans woman lesbian. And if you've never heard the story of Chris Chan, I don't know what rock you're living under, but basically this was an autistic kid who was so severely given shit by the 4chan community that he thought he never would have a girlfriend, never thought he would amount to anything. And so, like you do in current year society, you become a fucking transgender person. Because if you can't get any luck, then maybe if you just change your gender, everything will resolve itself. And unfortunately, the reality is that is 100,000% not the case. In fact, it ruins your chances pretty much permanently. And this is the sad reality that the LGBTQIA community has not really discovered yet. And that they call lesbians who do not want to have, what is tantamount to heterosexual sex with a gender-confused man, lesbian sex. And this is a huge problem for the trans community, but for some reason not a problem when you have a trans man, a male-presenting human with a female genitalia set. For some reason, gays are fine with that. I don't understand that. I don't get why gay males are cool with it because the top's fine. I don't think it's really realistic. However, what I do notice is that lesbians are not okay with the reverse, because I believe it is harder to make a woman a man, or I believe it is harder to make a man a woman than it is to make a woman a man. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. Bailey J, it has a top half that is very convincingly female. However, her tits are fake, and she has a giant penis. And so, it's not that big of a reality bending stretch in the way that Buck Angel looks like a biker dude, but instead he has a giant, vagine. And so to me, when Jocko announced last week that he is now a trans lesbian, I felt very sorry for him, because this person is was someone who I had business relations with, someone who I had been very friendly with over the span of this past decade. We used to be on a movie website called Spill.com, in which we would discuss movies and such. Now, Jocko had girl troubles. He only really had one relationship that he let everybody know about. Maybe another girl that I'm forgetting. But at the very most, I do remember one girl who was, let's just say, not the most attractive lady out there. But at the same time, he was very happy with her, and really, that's all that matters. And I will cover that kind of stuff in a different video on the sexual marketplace, because I feel like it needs to be said that there's something wrong. Because you have cases like this, and cases like Christina Chan, who are these young men who are so sick because they are not in a relationship, that they have got it into their brains that maybe if I am not the right gender, that I should figure out who I am as a person, because maybe that will help me get laid. And I am sorry to say this is not the case. This is absolutely not the case. You know, there have been so many stories of these TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists, who are lesbians, and they do not like penis. So this whole left-tard idea of trans women are women severely backfires when you have to have a lesbian engage with a trans woman, because it is so clearly different between a lesbian who refuses to have children and a trans woman who is the male end of having children. You know, certain lesbians have had kids. This is totally true. But to them, a penis, I believe, is more revolting to a lesbian than a vagina is to a gay man. And this is why we have this problem in the LGBT community of lesbians who refuse to step in line with postmodernism. Now, going back to Jocko, I do not think that this is totally his own idea. I know for a fact that he has friends who are very paused, very progressive. I know for a fact he himself is very progressive. And I do know for a fact that the media is trying to push that gender is a social construct. We have seen this year after year. We have seen the lies that are spread in order to push gender ideology. We have seen the countries who have flat out refused to allow gender ideology in the country because they know it plays a part in radicalizing the youth. And even though I used to be a progressive, I never bought into the gender ideology. And in some video that I will do at some point, I will probably discuss how I got from progressive to right libertarian where I am now. Because I believe it is very important to my audience that they know my political positions. But more on the speculation of further content later. So Jocko was definitely progressive. He definitely had friends who pushed progressive ideology to the farthest extremes. Now, he had no nail polish up until like last year on his fingers. And when I saw that last year, I was like, maybe I should talk to him. But I kind of forgot, as good old Dr. Jordan B. Peterson says, clean your room, bucko. Sort yourself out first before you go out in the world and try to solve other people's problems. And that is totally true, and that's probably why I didn't talk to him, because I really didn't need to solve my own problems first. And at the same time, though, the kind of advice that Jocko was getting was from people who I would call confused, people who do not have their head screwed on properly, people who do not have a straight line of thinking that is logical and reasonable. These are the kind of people who believe in, the cultural Marxism that we used to hear on the YouTube.com in the political sphere, that now BreadTube claims is not part of Marxism, which is false. It's false, because we do know that the cultural Marxism is the politics is downstream of culture to getting, center-left kind of progressives, people who want the public option and stuff like that, to believe in shit like gender is a social construct, there are multiple genders. Anything you say can be a gender and should be enforced by law, and if you disagree with me, I have the right to beat the shit out of you because my opinions are more morally valid than your facts, and my feelings are more morally valid than your facts. And we've seen a lot of this with the quote-unquote modern left, in that they have embraced the Herbert Marcuse Frankfurt School kind of diatribes of, if gender is binary, then why isn't a fucking bread gender? It's just this kind of postmodern philosophical hogwash that they try to sell to children in order to make them believe that they're thinking constructively, when they've just essentially wasted 4 years on a fucking college degree on gender studies. And, if you want better views on the whole gender study debacle, I would suggest that you watch King Crocoduck, because I do not have the scientific acumen to explain to you why it's wrong, but based on what I saw from his series on the gender wars and the science wars, people like Sandra Harding need to be fucking rounded up and put on trial for their, for their brainwashing of the youth, for their absolute corruption of the sciences. And these people who have been effectively ruined by gender ideology. And as I said in my very first video, I did go to school for filmmaking, and it was at an art institute. Therefore, I did see some trans folk. I do have photos of a very funny looking person with a "Down with Cis" shirt, and cis obviously being cisgender. But to me, what made all that experience funny rather than, horrifying, as I really should have seen, because at the end of the day, these people are humans, is that, they are the troubled souls of the world. And, all it takes to turn a troubled soul into somebody who cannot be redeemed is to lead them down a path of confusion. And I think that there are a lot of young men out there who might have some incel characteristics, or volcel characteristics, I should really say, because they are not choosing to be alone. They have bad luck with women. They are not good at the dating game. They are not good at the social hierarchy function of, I need to find a mate that is compatible to me. I was very lucky. In my last year of college, I ended up getting a perfect girlfriend who I should really value a lot more than I would like to, but it's only because sometimes she gets on my nerves, as most couples get on each other's nerves. But at the same time, Jocko here had a girl like that, lost a girl, and then didn't really have a lot of relationship luck afterwards. He was very lonely. It was a sad existence. I remember he would tell me, after we would do the business stuff, and to me, it's just like, that this was the fate of the nerd, and the thing that the internet should have solved. It should have solved and closed the gap on this whole pussy divide, for lack of a better phrase, in that only a certain amount of dudes get all the women, and that there is no biological imperative for women to have the same reaction as men do, and that women should also have a biological imperative to procreate, to find companionship. And yet you don't see women really caring about companionship. And it's because they've been culturally conditioned, most of them anyway, to believe that they need a career, and that a career will save them and make them strong women, and yada 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 fucking diversity platitudes of fucking major corporations via the HR companies. But at the same time, these people end up in their later years in life regretting every single decision they've ever made. I believe it was that woman Eve Ensler 2 years ago who delivered the biggest feminism red pill by saying to a British studio that, publishes news, feminism is only good for women under 30. Because now she's an 80-year-old cat lady who regrets every single decision she's made in life. And to me, I find that to be, goddamn hilarious. Because it's like, well, yeah, lady, you made the decision to not have a family. And even more, relevant of an example, I would believe, is the Sex and the City showrunner, who I never knew her name. All I know are the four broads and Chris Noth. But the showrunner herself has recently stated that she wished that she had the opportunity to have children. And Charlize Theron also had the same problem in that she was in a relationship with Stuart Townsend during her peak years as a woman capable of making children. But she wanted a career. She wanted to have it all. And for some reason, I see women having this problem and men only having the problem of, golly gee whiz, I wish I could have a family, And yet women are told that they can do anything and everything. And yet men are not told this. They are told the complete opposite. And that is because the sexual paradigm has shifted to women having the power. And people like Jocko are getting in the crosshairs, or not in the crosshairs, he is in the crossfire of what I would call the sexual paradigm shift. In that he believes that as a man, he is not worthy of being in a relationship, which is bullshit. That guy has had shit thrown at him and deserves to have someone to love him. Unfortunately, I don't think that will be the case as a trans woman lesbian, unless he has the balls to cut off his male genitalia, which I don't think he will do, because I don't think he will have the foresight to realize that, this new vagina that I will receive will never attract a lesbian. Because if he thinks that it will, I do not want to be there during the fallout. Now, if you figure out who this person is, I do ask that you don't go after him, because he is clearly in need of help, but only the people that surround him in his day-to-day life can tell him that, hey man, this is really not the right decision for you. And if this is because that you have not gotten in a relationship in a very long time, then this is absolutely the wrong choice to be making. Anybody who pulls a Christina Chan is deluded, okay? And for the time being, right now, he has, beta features. He doesn't have a nicely defined chin. He doesn't have, strong jaw lines. He doesn't have, high cheek, or the proper cheekbone ratio for a male face. He has quite a large forehead, beady eyes, a flattened nose, kind of like Jufro-y Jay Baruchel hair. But at the same time, there's probably, at least based on the statistics, at least 5 women that could like him. Or grow to like him based on his personality. He was a pretty witty guy. He did know a lot about his pop culture. There's geek sites dedicated to this kind of crap now. That it's just like, I don't know how it didn't click in his head. Unless he is totally driven to believe that because I am not worthy as a man, I might be a woman. What if I am a woman? Oh, hey, I think I identify with being a woman more. I have more feminine traits than masculine traits. And it's so funny because these people love to claim that there is no such thing as gender, and yet follow along a gender binary when they do transition. So they're unironically admitting that there's gender while at the same time saying there's no such thing as gender. But hypocrisy is not something that is a real argument. The real argument here is that a young man has become so desperate that he thinks that because I am not masculine enough that I might be feminine. And that is the problem with the trap question to me, is that it's not about what you feel. It's about what is going to happen to you as a result of you potentially feeling this way. And it's even funnier because just recently he posted about the Mario Lopez controversy, in which Mario Lopez stated that it's really not right to let a 3-year-old transition. And he said, oh, well, why don't you take your opinion somewhere else, bigot? And it's like, bro, it's not even right for you to be transitioning, because you are clearly so mentally warped into this, whether it's other people through nurture or through you just second-guessing yourself. You look unhinged as a fucking trans woman, okay? You're probably trying to grow your hair out right now if you're listening to this, and you're probably trying to see what kind of money you can scrounge up to change your beauty style. I know who you're talking to about your beauty style, and frankly, I think she is a fucking freak. Always thought she was a freak. And if you find out who these people are, please do not contact them. I only say this because this is a very volatile situation. When someone has recently transitioned, they can either go back with enough time to think about the big decisions like the gender reassignment surgery, or if through enough pressure of other people saying this is a wrong thing to do, they will go 5 feet on the gas pedal, and that person will never be the same. Will never be that person that used to chat about movies with, or get in arguments about like why this is good or why the Arrowverse is totally irredeemable. But enough about the more personal stuff. To me, this is a loss. This is the big loss in the culture war, is that we are going to have so many people who have been affected by cultural Marxism, by this gender ideology, that gender is a social construct, and therefore I can be a fucking attack helicopter. Yeah, that's a dumb old meme, but you know what? The reason why it was so funny was because it's so ridiculous. And now you see some of these trannies, these traps, and they look comical. I mean, it's like balding dudes in dresses. And yet you're supposed to call that a woman. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You are deranged because you are paused. And you're not paused with AIDS, you're paused with ideology. So if you're going to go through this surgery and you're a trans person, tread lightly, because you will never get it back.